About this live streaming thing, and sorry about the link. I'll
That's
figure
okay.
this. Yeah.
I'm actually at the airport, and my plane board's in like 20 minutes, which I
Okay.
can look up. But if you grab Mikhail, he can probably also help out too.
Yeah, I just sent him the link as well, and sent him the invite, so hopefully he can join. And thanks for joining. And yeah, feel free to share the screen. And yeah, I think we can start anytime, basically. So.
Okay.
So. Cool. And then while Jacob, you're starting to set things up, I'll just sort of tee it up. And yeah, welcome everyone to our second tutorial session for the hackathon. And excited to have Jacob from the Meltano team. It's a relatively new initiative within GitLab, and wanted to have Jacob give us a little overview, and for any interested contributors, how you can get started and where we might need your help. So Jacob, I know you're in a bit of a rush, but thanks for joining, and I'll let you kind of kick things off.
Yeah, sure. So Meltano is a data science startup, and we take your data from data source to dashboard, and we're kind of combining a bunch of different tools that are in the current ecosystem, and we're doing it all open source. And so if you want to contribute, the main tools that we use, and we're really looking for JavaScript people, front-end people that know Vue.js, as well as people that know Python as well. We follow a pretty strict Python regimen, I guess you could say. We follow a pretty strict Python infrastructure. So in order to set up your project to get started with Meltano, it's relatively simple. You just clone the Meltano project, and let me pull that up here real quick. And we're currently working on getting the website with the docs updated and making sure that our docs are up to date, and all the installation instructions are on there. But here is a link to see here. I'll share one window at a time here. So here's the Meltano page that has all the Meltano information on it. In the README, it tells you how to install Meltano. Now, Meltano works just kind of like a Node or a Gem file, like a Rails project or like a JavaScript project, where you have this Meltano project, this Meltano.yaml file that gets added to your project. And so to actually install and develop on Meltano, I suggest you use Docker because it's the easiest way. So what you can do is you can clone the Meltano project. Let me stop sharing and share my terminal here. So you should be able to see my terminal right now. And right now I'm working on a branch of Meltano, which is for Meltano Analyze, which is a very JavaScript intense application. But once you have Meltano installed, you just follow the instructions on there. You should be able to just run make initdb and Docker compose up. Once you have that, then you should be able to just run Docker compose up, and that should run all of the 4 different services that you need in order to get Meltano started. And that should be very, very simple. If you have any problems getting that started, let us know. So now that this is running, what we can do is we can take a look in our application here. So we should be able to go to localhost 8080. And depending on how much of my bandwidth is being used up for Hangouts, also right now, it first compiles the Vue application. So it might still be compiling the Vue application right now. But you just give it a second. While this is going on, the other thing that you can do, and I'll get this moving really quick. while that's going on. If you go into your Meltano project here, Meltano is organized in a very orderly way, but the most important thing here, if you're a Python developer, is this setup.py. The setup.py, and actually let me do this. I'm going to make sure that I have the latest version of master, because that's really important. We just had a major rewrite of our setup.py file. So in our setup.py, you can see that it has, what we have here is an API. In here we have Meltano, API, CLI, and core. The API and the CLI both run core, and then we have all this pulls from external libraries. So in order to install all this, you should be able to just grab Meltano, set up a virtual environment with Python-m venv, which will give you a virtual environment to run. And then you start up that virtual environment in Python with venv bin activate. And then from here, you can do pip install -e everything. The -e will allow you to install Meltano as a project that can be edited, and that will allow you to go through the process of actually changing the Meltano code, which is actually a pip package, and trying it out at the same time. So once you run that, then you should have Meltano good to go, and you should be able to run Meltano --help for the CLI, and you can see that it's available here. So now with that, you can test different things out. Let's make this a little bigger here. Because Meltano works, the CLI works by creating a separate, by allowing you to use the CLI to create your own packages. We can go to our projects directory, and we can activate that virtual environment. So if we have Meltano venv bin activate. From here, now that we have Meltano activated, we should still be able to run Meltano --help, which works. And from here, we can run Meltano init my fancy project.
Hey, Jacob, I'm
Yes.
not sure if your screen's refreshing. I just see the localhost 8080.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You see just my browser?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's make sure that my okay.
Oh, there we
cool.
go. Yep.
Yeah. So, oh, that was a while ago. Okay. So yeah, what I was saying is that you should be able to just run Docker compose up. It starts the application, and everything should be good to go there. For actually creating the project and running the project, what you want to do is you want to create a virtual environment here with Python -m venv, and that will create a virtual environment. And then you can activate that virtual environment, venv bin activate. And with bin activate, you can see my terminal, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. With bin activate, now you should be able to run pip install -e period. And what that'll do is that'll install Meltano as a pip package that's editable, so that when you modify the Meltano source code, it will actually allow you to run it as a command line tool. So then if we do remove rm-rf, my fancy project, we'll just do this one more time here. Okay, so from your whatever projects directory, you should be able to activate Meltano's virtual environment with period Meltano venv bin activate. And from here, now you should still have Meltano help. And so if you were to actually change the CLI, you should see the changes propagate, and you can play around with creating your own Meltano project. Meltano init my fancy project. So this is creating my fancy project. It's installing DBT, which should be really great. And once it does that, then everything should be good to go. So the two sides of Meltano are you've got the Meltano CLI and you've got the Meltano API, and then that's kind of one half, the sort of back end. And then the other half is Meltano Analyze, which is just under Analyze under the source, which is a Vue application. So if you decide to contribute to Meltano, you should be able to contribute to either one, whatever you're most comfortable with. One thing that we really would love some help on right now is specifically the CLI and making sure that it does everything that people need it to do. So now we have our project, and it gives you instructions on how to just try out Meltano. So we created a tap first, but one thing that we want to do is we want to create a tap that doesn't take API keys that are necessary, and that's something we're going to do. But if you want to contribute basically a Meltano tap that doesn't take API keys, because what you'll see is that if we go into my fancy project and we do Meltano add extractor tap first, what is it called? We can do Meltano discover all. Should give us the name of it. Oh, it's with a dash. Okay, so Meltano add extractor tap first. And what that does is that installs this tap into a sandboxed pip environment, which is really great. But the thing that you'll see here is that for the virtual environment, the environmental variables that it created, it uses a GitLab API token to run that first tap. And for some people, signing up for GitLab may be, a hindrance to actually trying Meltano. So what we want to do is create a tap, which is different than first tap, which doesn't actually take an API key to run, but can call an API that doesn't take an API key. So we have some ideas in mind, but it's something that we're kind of thinking about. Yeah. And so then, let's see. If we run Docker compose up one more time, let's see if we can get this running here. We did just do a major refactor to make things easier for contributors to be able to see like where files are and what you should be working on and that sort of thing. Easy to kind of navigate around the user interface. But this is the way that you start the user interface. And again, in the source of this, you can see analyze, and from here you can go into the source of the Vue app, which works with Vuex, and here's your store with your modules, and here's your SCSS, and here's it calling APIs from JavaScript, which just does basic Axios calls while that's installing the dependencies here. So yeah, that's the basics of Meltano. And are there any? Are we able to see if there's any questions?
Yeah, I don't see any questions on the live stream. I did have a couple. I know you need to leave in a few minutes. I know like a CLI is where the help is needed, and I was also looking at issues under Meltano.
Yes.
And it looks like you're also using like accepting merge request labels, right? I thought I saw at least one or two issues that says accepting merge requests. I assume that's where people can contribute. And I saw another label called like needs consensus. I mean, are those like type of issues that, I mean, you guys are just having a lot of discussions on where you need community feedback or?
We would love community feedback on all the issues, and the
Yeah.
needs consensus ones are for us to discuss what we want to bring consensus to internally. But
Hmm.
obviously, if the community wants to contribute and say like what they think on those specific issues, we would love to have the community contributions. Just even commenting in the issues, best practices, that sort of thing.
Right.
Because we're using all open source tools, and one of the things that we're doing right now, for example, is, we're parsing what are called look ML files, and those are for data modeling. Now, we want to bundle those data modeling files, and obviously, or one of the things you never do is you never write your own package manager. And so what we're trying to figure out is a good way to bundle the lookml files in a repo so that we can download them. Do we use pip? We're using pip for everything else. Would pip work? So if someone wants to let us know how they can do that, this is an issue that we have in our issue tracker, and there's a lot of really great issues in there, and we're trying to add as many accepting merge requests as we possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like 102 open issues, and I was looking at merge requests yesterday too. I saw at least a couple that were contributed by people outside of GitLab, so I know that's already happening. Yeah, and
it may be a lot to grok.
Right.
Data science and Meltano itself is definitely not the easiest thing to grok right now. But what another thing that we could really use is that if you take the time to ask us questions and you fully understand it, let us know how it can be easier. Like, let us know, what's confusing about it, because especially for people that are coming fresh, kind of off the street, not having seen it before, your feedback is the most valuable, because we need to know, like, where is it confusing? How can we make it more like immediately understandable, especially for something that has a slightly higher learning curve? Data science, a lot of software engineers may not be familiar with the data science isms. So that's something that we're trying to figure out.
Great. Yeah, and then I think you mentioned earlier, I think people typically associate GitLab with Ruby, but I mean, you got code written like JavaScript and Python, so people who don't, I mean, there are lots of different ways to contribute, I guess, if you're a Python expert and so forth. So
yeah, and so yeah, we are not currently using Ruby at all. We're currently using Python exclusively, and even if you're not a Python expert, I think that Python is one of the ones that's easier to get up and running with, and you can check out the way that we organize the code. We would love any contributions, and we use we use Flask, which is is a library for creating websites in Python. And we use Flask's counter library called Click, which is for creating command line interfaces, CLIs. And it's super, super easy. I think even if you have very little Python experience, I think you'll find Click to be very, very easy. And we're looking to build a really nice user interface around our command line interface. I think that's a really, really important thing, that Meltano is just really easy to use. It might take a little bit of time to get there, though.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I don't see any questions on YouTube. I'm checking it on my other laptop. So I think we're good to go for now, but obviously the recording will be posted and people will be able to get in touch with me or you, Jacob, if they have any further questions. And I know you have to catch a flight, so thanks for jumping on the hangout before your next travel. Have a safe trip.
Absolutely. And if anybody's going to be at Vue.js Toronto, that's where I'm going. I'm going to be.
Okay, cool. They can find you in person. So.
Yeah, great. Bye.
All right.
Thanks so much.
All right. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.